8 students are competing in a 200-meter race. How many ways can the students come in first, second, or third? So this is a decisions one. How many spaces? How many spaces would we do? We want to know who comes in first, second, and third. We're not concerned with the other things that happen after that. We're just concerned with how many ways could they come in first, second, and third. How many choices do you have for first? Any of the 8, then 7, then 6. And this is the same as we had before, 336. Now, one of the things that they want to show you, and they have this right before this, as a new formula and a new thing to put into your calculators called permutations of different objects. And looking at our race question, what this is saying is that if you have a certain group of objects, in this case we had 8 people running in the race, and you're only concerned with arranging a smaller portion of them. And here we were just worried about arranging first, second, and third. That can be shown by the following formula. We had 8 people, and we wanted to know how many permutations there were. If we took 3 of them at a time, we could write it like this. So connecting it to our other question, that 3 there was really how many spaces we needed. And the 8 is the number we started with. But according to the formula, NPR, or 8p3, is equal to n factorial over n minus r factorial. So using the formula, 8p3 would be 8 factorial over 8 minus 3 factorial. And 8 minus 3 is just 5, so this is 8 factorial over 5 factorial. And this is why they got us to do that activity right at the beginning of getting started. Because what is 8 factorial equal to? 8 factorial is equal to 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And 5 factorial is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And what did we do at the beginning? We canceled these out. And we were just left with 8 times 7 times 6, which is exactly our 3 spaces with our number starting at 8, then going down by 1, then going down by 1. Now, if I got you to do this, well, according to the formula, that would be 18 spaces. Oh no, let's do something smaller. Let's do 20p2. That would be 2 spaces, starting with 20 and going 20 times 19. But according to the formula, you would have 20 factorial over 20 minus 2 factorial. And what I said with factorials is you have to be able to expand them. So with expanding them, we have to be able to write them all the way out. But in this case, can you see that writing 20 factorial out could take a long time? And we have 20 factorial over 18 factorial. Can you see that 20 factorial is bigger than 18 factorial? So if we start expanding 20 factorial, it'll be 20 times 19 times 18. And since it'll keep on going, it makes sense just to stop at 18 and say 18 keeps on going. And then instead of having to write them all out and cancel them, you could just cancel out the 18 factorials. And so we'll be working with this formula, and we'll even be doing things with letters. What is k plus 2 pk. Or maybe I'll do a smaller number. Maybe I'll just do p3. Well, on the top of your formula, you would have k plus 2 factorial. On the bottom, you would have k plus 2 minus 3 factorial. Or k plus 2 factorial over k minus 1 factorial. Which is bigger? Okay. And if you're having trouble visualizing which one's bigger, throw in a number for k. Like if k is 10, the top number would be 12, the bottom number would be 9, so obviously the top number is bigger. So if we start expanding the top one, can you see that you have k plus 2? What would be next? K plus 1, one less. What would be next? K. And we're going to keep going, keep subtracting 1 each time until we get to the one that's on the bottom. And they'll cancel out. Again, if we think of this as the number of spaces in our fundamental counting principle, look after we canceled out how many spaces or how many numbers are multiplied together. 1, 2, 3. So what you're going to find is in our first example that we just did, that sometimes in multiple choice questions, they're not going to have the answer written like this. They're going to have the answer written like this, because this is equal to 8p3. But for the most part, for solving them, we're going to use that formula quite rarely, because if we've got a word problem in context, we're going to use our spaces as much as possible. So we're going to try to use our spaces to figure it out, but you do need to know the formula and what it looks like and what it means, because it often shows up in multiple choice questions.